Okay, I'm Barbara Freethy, and I've been writing for about 20 years. And I started when my kids were very small, so I learned how to write when I had toddlers and babies around the house. I started out in traditional publishing, and I wrote for four of the big publishers. And then started in 2010, I started indie publishing my own books. First, I started with my backlist books, and then I moved on to my front list, which are my new original books. And I've started a new series called the Calloways. That's a family-connected romance series. So I'm working on that right now.
Fantastic, and just give us some numbers. How many
Okay.
books? How many millions sold?
Right, yeah, the numbers are staggering. After I came out of traditional publishing, I had no expectation of what it would be like to be an indie publisher. And when I first started publishing, my very first indie published book hit #1 on the New York Times, and the title was Summer Secrets. And it was just a phenomenal experience, and the publishers were all shocked that an indie publisher could put their book on #1 in the New York Times spot. And since then, I've actually sold, just this year, I just crossed the 4 million ebook mark in 3 years. And 15 of the books have actually appeared on the New York Times in the last 3 years. So it's just been quite a ride, and I've loved that I've found so many new readers for my books, being able to publish myself.
Wow, that's just amazing.
Yeah, that's great.
So I'm interested in, how do you transition from being an author to running a global business as the CEO of a publishing empire?
Right. It is definitely a transition. When I first started, no one was really doing any of the sidelines of the business. There were, it was hard to find editors and cover artists and formatters. So I actually learned how to do every single thing myself. I watched a lot of YouTube videos on Photoshop and also on formatting your ebooks. So I actually had to really start at the ground level. Now people can get so much help. There's formatters. My daughter, Kristen, actually runs a business helping authors get started and doing all their formatting and setting them up with cover artists and all that. So there's a lot of people like that who are doing it. So one thing you want to do is kind of put together a team of people. Either you pick the things that you're good at, that you want to do yourself. I really enjoy doing my covers, and now I'm actually pretty good at it because I spent so much time learning Photoshop, and I have a good idea of what my brand is. So I still do a lot of my own covers. Sometimes I get some technical help, but I do that myself. But I've handed off a lot of the other things. So I would say if you're starting out, pick the things you're good at, or that you want to do, and hire a team of people to do the rest. So hire a formatter, hire a cover artist, hire an editor. Definitely need an editor, and you definitely need proofreaders. I really learned the hard way that you need 3 or 4 proofreaders, even if you use beta readers, just having eyes on your book. So you really have to put on your business hat. You have to start thinking like a publisher, and so for part of your day, you're a writer, 80%, and then the other 20%, you put on your publisher hat.
Did you have any business knowledge? Like, how do you learn to be a businesswoman?
I had worked in business. I'd worked in public relations, so I had some business experience. But a lot of it was just trial and error. I found that I'm actually really good at the business part. I like to know what the numbers are, so I studied the retailers. I studied what other successful authors were doing when I started out. I looked at their blurbs. I looked at what was in the back of their books. So I really kind of taught myself how to do it. Because I had come out of traditional publishing, I had very little opportunity to have input into my books. So this was an opportunity for me to really, go crazy and do my own cover and write the blurb I wanted to and the title I wanted and all that. So I really enjoy the business end of it. If you don't enjoy the business end of it, then you want to hire out some of that stuff. But if you're good, if you like to run your own business, it's a great opportunity.
And you mentioned brand there. Some authors want to write in multiple genres. What are your tips for getting your brand right, and does that take a while to develop?
Getting your brand is really important, and I think we as writers don't always know what our brand is, and so we have to really almost look at it objectively, or even ask people who have read your book, like, what do you think are my strengths? Like, what do you think I'm going for? You think about what authors you like and maybe what genre they're in, and then you decide, does my book fit in that genre? So I kind of do all those things. And then when you start making the covers, you really want to have kind of a consistent look, either through your font or your art, your titles, anything that kind of people start to recognize that's a Barbara Freethy book. So the brand is more than just the cover, though. It's also sort of kind of what you write. A lot of writers do want to write in multiple genres, and artistically, that's a great thing. Sales-wise and just speaking money and nuts and bolts, you will make more money faster if you stick to one genre to start and build your audience. It takes several books to build an audience. So you really want to stay with the same kind of story for, I would say, at least 4 or 5 books. And then if you want to explore something else, then take that time. But know that you will make more money if you stay in one genre. If you're just the kind of writer who has to write whatever you want to write and it's fun, then do that. But know that it may take longer if you're trying to build 2 or 3 genres at the same time.
And what about series, and particularly in romance, this family series seems to be a big deal. Why do you think that a series is good and a family is good?
I think the series is part of our culture now. I think it spreads across movies and television and books. I think that now people want to actually sit down and read 5 books in the same series all at once. Just like they go onto Netflix and rent the whole season of House of Cards or something like that. So I think that it's kind of a cultural thing in our time right now that people really like the connected books. I don't think it was that way like 10 years ago. So I don't know if it's just because of indie publishing or just because people have kind of changed that way. But definitely the series is a part of a brand. So it's easier to sell the next book because people know the world, they like the world, and they want more of the world. And if you fall in love with somebody's world, you want like a million stories in it. So that's why writers I think are kind of focusing that way. And that's why I started doing the Calloways. And I am so surprised because I have book 6 coming out in June, and already, now people are really so excited about the next book in the series. So that's fun.
And if people want to write a family series, do you have to have like loads and loads of children and cousins?
No. No. I only have 2 children. But you make up your family, and some families are all great, and I usually have a little bit of dysfunction in my families. I like to have mystery, so I kind of mix mystery into my my series. So I don't believe that it has to be one thing or the other. I think you can put elements. I just call that a plot. Some of them have a plot, a little bit of a mystery plot, because I enjoy that, and I enjoy a little adventure and a puzzle to figure out as part of the family series. Some people just write straight family relationships. It's just whatever you like.
Yeah. And then connecting with readers, how do you do that? What's your best way to connect?
Probably the best way to connect is through Facebook for me. I feel like that's the most interactive of all the social media. But I also do Twitter, and I also have a website, and I get lots of emails, and I have a newsletter. So there's different ways to outreach to your readers, but you have to participate a little bit in social media. You just can't not do it. Even if you hate it, you have to get on there and do a little bit, because readers have to have a place where they can find you.
Tipping point. So if people have maybe 5 books now, or maybe they only have 1 book, and you have, was it
37 now, I think.
37 books.
Right.
Like, when was the point where you went, yes, this is my career, this is my living?
It's hard for me to say because I've been writing over a long period of time. So people who are starting out, I think once you've written 1 book, you're an author, because you've done it. It's really hard to get to the end of a book. And I think once you've written 3 or 4, you're kind of on your way to a career. The tipping point, who knows when it'll come, because some people shoot up on 1 book, and some people take 15 books, and some people take 30 books. It's just impossible to say. There's a little bit of luck sometimes involved in writing and publishing. Lots of great books just take a while to be discovered. So it's not a business if you are afraid of risk, because it's a very risky business. There's nothing is guaranteed to you, and you are criticized at every point of the game, from your first editor to the first reviewer who reads your published book. So I think a lot of writers think once they're published, they've made it. But, the readers have their say on the review sites, and they can sting. You can get a million good ones and 1 bad one, and that one kills you. So it's definitely a business where, it's speculative. You may make it, the sky's the limit. It can be fantastic, or it can be not so great. But you have to love kind of the process of writing.
Yeah. And then last question. So we really feel like you're about 2 years ahead in the US from the UK. and then say Germany might be another year behind. So what do you see coming up in your future, the next couple of years? Where do you think the exciting things are going to be? What are you focusing in on your business for the next couple of years?
Well, actually, I do think the global market is where I'm focusing most of my business, because I do think the U.S. is kind of off and rolling, but the whole rest of the world is just getting on board. And I think of all those millions of readers that have never heard of the Calloways or me. So yeah, definitely. That's why we've come to London, a bunch of authors, and we just want to work with the retailers who are setting up stores in the different countries and encourage them to, get these books out to the potential readers out there. I think that's the next thing. I think more books will be translated into other languages, and I think audiobooks will continue to gain in popularity.
Fantastic. So where can people find you and your books online?
You can find me at barbarafreethy.com. You can also find me on Facebook at Barbara Freethy Books, and on Twitter at Barbara Freethy. You see the trend. And all over Amazon and Barnes & Noble and, every online retailer, my books are available.
Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.